Hello and welcome to today's coaching call. I am Wendy Greer with Learning Strategies and MINDTRX. I wanted to start by addressing an issue that I'm seeing very frequently, particularly in the last few years, but I think it's accelerating. I am taking so many calls and handling so many emails from people who are in a state of overwhelm, and it's all aspects of their life. I mean, for some, it's a more finite, but for a lot of people, it's their relationships, their work situation, health issues, family issues. There's just so much coming at them, and they're in such a state of contraction and almost just so frenzied that they don't have any space to create something new. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today is how you can create more space to have a new to create a new paradigm, to find a new way of looking at things, to find a way to manifest what you want. These people are so boxed in that it's like there's nowhere to move, there's nowhere to go. So I wanted to start with I wanted to start with one of the paraliminals I'm going to reference is the letting go paraliminal. And there's a couple of really pertinent aspects of that. One is that in the introduction, Paul brings up the context of locked energies. And I like that expression because that's exactly what's going on. The energy is getting locked in. It's you sort of get the tunnel vision. You can't see beyond the box. And so you can't access what Hale references as the limited possibilities and potential that are also out there. So the distillation of this that I love, I can't attribute this to anybody, it's author unknown, but the saying is, it is difficult to see the picture when you are inside the frame. And I just think that's a perfect summation of what I'm talking about. If you're in the frame and you're the picture, you can't see everything that's outside of that frame. So instead of a box, we're calling it a frame. And I just think that is such a wonderful way of putting it to give you a visual of what it's like when you don't have the space for the new to come in. I think I've always known that, and I think we all innately know that you need a certain amount of room to move in order to create something new. But when it really came home for me was when we released our Diamond Feng Shui course, which of course is working with your physical space. And so there's a real graphic component to this. And what I found really early on when I started coaching that was how many people have so much stuff in their space that they cannot move. They can't shift things. What you're trying to do with feng shui is create a vision board in your home, and so everything you look at should ideally be representing what you want more of, what makes your heart sing and your soul dance. And so you're turning your home into a vision board that supports your life purpose and where you're trying to get to. And Marie had a wonderful analogy, and I know I've shared this before, but I think it's so great, and I just can picture this happening. She says, you put out your wish list to the universe about what you would like to have, and there's a Universal Federal Express truck, and all your goodies get loaded in the truck, and they come to your house, and they lift the lid, and they look in the house, and there is nowhere to put anything. So the UPS truck or a FedEx truck can't drop anything off. They say, oh, we'll have to delay this order. Next. And they move on. And this, I think, is a perfect analogy for how a lot of us are living. One of the things I noticed, too, with the Feng Shui course was I would get the plans from people, and I would get photographs sometimes. And a photograph doesn't lie. I mean, I was sort of shocked because when I tell you what happened, I would get pictures from people of an office with stacks of stuff everywhere and pictures askew on the wall, and I could see that their recycle needed emptying. And I'd look at this picture and think, this does not look like a successful person's office. Well, when I took pictures of my own space, and I have grandkids, and I know what it's like to have a mess, but I realized that I had some things in my house that weren't overly supportive of what I was trying to achieve either. So it was just a really graphic visual for me of what is going on. And of course, when it's mental and emotional clutter, because often it's our mental attitudes, our emotions, our belief systems that are stopping us from stepping into our full potential. So, and that it can be very, very under the radar. So, and all the multitasking we do, the alienation we're experiencing now socially. So we've sort of lost our support structures and our tribes. All the video time, all the time in front of screens, all the social media, there is such a chronic and pervasive issue with finding space to create something new. And so paraliminals can just be awesome for this, because when you got something going on beneath the surface, it's beneath the radar, you really need to access the wisdom and the knowing of your other than conscious mind to see what's going on beneath there so you can bring it to the surface. And once you can see it, you can take a look and see what you're dealing with. So there are 4 paraliminals that I think are just phenomenal for this. First one is letting go. And I know I've mentioned this one before, but it is such a go-to. It basically uses a triple welcoming process from Hildwaskim. And what you're doing is you're welcoming whatever is going on in your life. Now, that sounds a little bit woo-woo, I guess, because if you're accepting something you really don't want more of, it's almost like you're condoning it, but that is not what's happening here. You are welcoming it, you are accepting it, you are seeing it for what it is. You're not resisting it, you're not pushing against it, you're not wasting all that energy you've been throwing into, I don't want this in my life, this needs to stay away, and that's what you're focusing on. You're focusing on what you don't want. Instead, you're seeing it for what it is, and from that place, you open that box, you open the vista, you become more expanded, and you're not contracted on the little view you're seeing of what you don't want. You're saying, oh, I could do that, or I could do that, or I could do that. So the letting go is just a wonderful, wonderful paraliminal for any time you are feeling like you are boxed in, there's no options. It's just a really, really good go-to for that. Secondary to that, and maybe not secondary, fresh start sometimes resonates more for some people than letting go. Fresh start we did with Bill Harris, and basically it's based on the premise that every minute, every second, every hour, every day, every month, every year, all the way up and down is an opportunity for a new start. And when you're looking at life that way, whatever's coming your way it just is what it is, and what am I going to do about it? And that's the beauty of the letting go as well. What can I do about it? When you can see it realistically and you've welcomed it, and there's an opportunity for a fresh start, that completely opens your viewpoint, your perspective. Simplicity. A lot of us have a tendency to complicate things. I'm guilty. Simplicity is really good for distilling where your priorities are and what you really want in your life, and really getting down to the crux of what matters to you, really aligning with what you value. And if you're doing what you value and what you're aligned with, life just goes more smoothly. It goes more easily. And the other one, of course, would be overcoming overwhelm, which is really what I'm talking about here, because you're creating the space by releasing the things that are not supporting you, that aren't aligned with what you value. And so with overcoming overwhelm, the subtitle is Act with Calm, Clarity, and Effectiveness. So you're getting some clarity on where you're overwhelmed. You're getting some clarity on what you might want to shift or do differently. I would like to mention here one more tool. Just occurred to me that I should bring this up. I know I've mentioned it before, but Jack Canfield, we did a course with him called Effortless Success. Jack is phenomenal at borrowing, seeing what people do well and borrowing. He has a thing called the irritations list. And I would really encourage you to do this if you're wanting to create more space in your life and your world. You go through your home, and everything that's aggravating you, you write it down. Might be room by room, might be a work project, what's irritating you that you're not getting done. So you can do it, for your physical environment. You can also do it for what the mental patterns that you see coming over and over and over, and it's irritating you. Once you've caught them on paper, they can't wiggle out of the way and keep hiding into underbrush. You can pin them down, and then you can do something about it with whichever paraliminal is most pertinent to what you're finding is your sticking point. So those are the 4. I mean, as I've said so many times, the reason paraliminals work so darn well is because they're so adaptable. You can really, tweak your intention. You can tweak a paraliminal to your specific circumstances, and then, of course, because your other unconscious mind comes to the forefront during the change work, you're going to see all the possibilities. You're going to see the wisdom that you've achieved. You're going to see where your experiences have fed you, where they have enhanced your knowledge and enhanced your perspective on the world, and how you can implement that in your life. So that is the 4 I would recommend for this specific issue, which is a huge one right now. And I just would really encourage you to take a look at your life and see if you do have the space. Do you have that space around you to navigate, to orient, to prioritize, so that you can shift what's going on in your life? We only had a couple of questions today. One of them was really unique. I'm feeling the solar flares in my body as physical pain in my neck and shoulders. What is a good paraliminal for this? Anytime anybody has physical pain, I always suggest they go to Perfect Health, because Perfect Health reminds you that you have a blueprint for perfect health. we get skewed, we get stressed, we get pulled off center, and we forget that again, for a start, every minute of every day, you choose what you put in your body, you choose what you think, you choose how you respond, you choose whether you're doing your meditations, you choose whether you're getting your exercise. So perfect health is a really good place to start with any physical issue. I would probably also consider letting go, because pain gets worse if you resist it. And so if you can embrace whatever's going on, the Buddhist concept of meditation is you just notice what's happening and go, oh, pain, pain, just notice as an observer, discomfort, discomfort. So if you're feeling the solar flares are doing this, and then you're focusing on that, it tends to exacerbate it. So letting go. And then deep relaxation would be another one for a similar reason, because deep relaxation is going to help you to really center, sort of expand your physical experience. And when you're expanded, it's harder for pain and discomfort, a contraction, to land, because that expansive place doesn't allow room for it. So those are the three I would probably consider. As I always say, go to the title, go to the subtitles, and choose ones that seem pertinent to what you're experiencing at the time, because that will, one of the things I've come to know over my over 20 years of coaching here is we are all far wiser than we give ourselves credit for. So I encourage you to do that. The second one is, how can I become more involved? There's no context there, so I'm at something somewhat of a loss, but here's a few thoughts. If it's relationships, like, why are you not more involved? I guess that's what I'm asking. Take a look at that, and then choose paraliminals that address why you're not experiencing the involvement you choose. Now, if this has to do with relationships, I would probably start with positive relationships, because that's going to really enhance your ability to connect with people and to really spontaneously be more open with people and connect more readily. Instantaneous personal magnetism is really good, because it helps you to really tune into the most charismatic, integral part of yourself in a way that's very honest and very candid. A lot of salespeople use instantaneous personal magnetism very, very successfully, because people tend to buy from people that they feel aligned with. They feel that there's a congruence there, that there's integrity. So instantaneous personal magnetism, if you're having a lack of involvement because of relationships, would be another one. A third one would be, and this is a little off the cuff, but youthful vitality, because youthful vitality, a lot of people are very jaded right now, and so they're sort of in this place of they're not very spontaneous, they're not very gregarious, and they're sort of hard to connect with. So youthful vitality helps you to access that time when the pearl is your oyster, and you are just full of vivacious energy and spontaneous possibilities. So those are the three I would suggest if this is a relationship issues that you're wanting to be more involved with other people. If the lack of involvement is based on lack of confidence, then my first go-to would probably be Self-Esteem Supercharger, because the better you feel about yourself, it sort of emanates out from you, and the better you'll feel about other people, and there'll be more connection. Belief, because if you think you can or you think you can't, you're going to be right. So if you're doubting your connectivity, your right to have friendships, your right to connect with people, your ability to connect with people, that would be one. Again, instantaneous personal magnetism. The You Deserve It would be really good, because that really helps you to remember that you are worthy. You're intrinsically worthy. There's nobody who isn't worthy of connection, of being involved, of that kind of thing. But we tend to beat ourselves up, and some people are so good at self-judgment and self-abuse that they tend to get stuck in that. Another one you might consider is personal genius, because personal genius reminds you that you have incredible capacities that you're just not accessing. That's what we're about here, about people accessing their potential. And so personal genius is a really great reminder that you have all this potential, you just need to tap into it. And so it helps you to see that and do that. If this doesn't answer your question, if you could email coach@MINDTRX, MINDTRX.com, I'd be happy to give you some specifics if you give me a context. But those would be just some first off-the-cuff responses. One other thing that occurs too is if this has to do with fear of relationships where you might become vulnerable, then I would probably do fearlessness, and then the deep relaxation would probably be good too, because it gets you out of that fear state into an expanded state, and that fear can't coexist with that expansion. You know, I did a prior blurb about Jerry Jampolsky. There are two emotions, love and fear. So if you're in a deeply relaxed state and you're very expanded, you tend to be more loving, and you tend to step out of the fear mode. And so that in and of itself makes you more attractive to other people, but also it enhances your own awareness of your own attractiveness. So that would be one you might want to consider for that as well. All right, that is basically what I had to say today, but I found a couple of really interesting thoughts that I want to share because they're so pertinent. This first one is from Dr. Jean Ladding. I have not come across any of her work other than in the context of Brene Brown. Is that Brene? I'm not sure I'm getting that right, but anyway, it just came to last week in a newsletter from her, and it's so pertinent. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So you got a stimulus, you got a response, and there's this space in there. That space is where you get to choose. That's where the freedom is. When you're overwhelmed and there's no space, there's no chinks for that space, then you don't have that opportunity to choose. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to expand, create some openings in, you know, your physical environment, your mental environment, your emotional environment, your relationship environment, whatever it is that you're working through. You need that space so that you can implement that change. And the last thought I want to end with is with Jim Rohn. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. You can change your direction right now. Don't even need overnight. You can do it right now. But you need the space to turn around, because if you're boxed in, that you don't have that maneuverability. So I thought that was a great summary. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. So that's I think that's very empowering, because that's up to us. So that's it for this time. Send you lots of love from all of us here at Learning Strategies and MINDTRX. You take care.